Welcome back, everyone. New week, new episode. Welcome to CO Sports Talk, episode 7. And today is a very special day because it was Selection Sunday, and we have a field of 68 teams to talk about. And we are excited because March Madness is the best time of the year. And today is dedicated to March Madness and only March Madness. And aren't you excited, Oliver?
I am. It's our favorite time of year, Casey. March Madness, something we look forward to every single year. And this episode will be only March Madness. It's our March Madness special here on CO Sports Talk, which we'll do annually. But yeah, episode 7 is about to kick off, so let's get right into it. Okay, we're starting off here with the West region, which is the top left portion of the bracket. And so, yeah, a lot of exciting matchups here. Casey, what stands out to you and what seems like it's going to be the most interesting matchup?
I love this top left portion. I'm not bright enough to say West because it still doesn't make sense to me. All the games are in Indiana, so the whole West thing doesn't really make sense. So this is top left to me.
Yeah.
But I love the Creighton UCSB matchup. This Creighton team right now is not a hot team at all. They just got crushed by Georgetown, and by crushed I mean crushed. A Georgetown team that made the March Madness on it when they were not going to make it. So now Creighton's here sitting at a 5 seed, and their team chemistry is terrible right now. Their coach said some pretty racist things actually. So these players are not buying into their system whatsoever, obviously, as they should not be buying into it. So this UCSB team only 4 losses on the season. They're extremely hot right now. Just won the Big West, beat UC Irvine. That is a 12-5 upset in my opinion, and I'm hammering the 12-5 upsets everywhere. So I would take UCSB, and that stands out to me.
Yeah, for me, I mean, this top left hand portion of the bracket, it's not that exciting to me. Like it doesn't have many upsets. I think I only picked one upset in this side of the bracket, which was the winner of Wichita State, Drake over USC. I just like Drake and I like Wichita State. I feel like they're always just good in the tournament. And yeah, Evan Mobley is gonna be good for USC, but that's the one upset I have there. And yeah, but the rest I just have the higher seeds winning, including Creighton. I know they're cold. They just got blown out by Georgetown, but I still have them going pretty far in the tournament, winning their first 2 rounds. So
Yeah, I agree. This is definitely a chalk heavy portion, this top left side. Some matchups, though, Oklahoma, I do like beating Missouri. They'll
me too.
definitely lose to Gonzaga, I think, but I like the Sooners in that matchup. And I see what you mean about USC. I think it definitely depends on who wins between Drake and Wichita State. Those are two bubble teams. Joe Lunardi had Wichita State out this morning. He got 67 of the 68 teams out, right? So it's pretty impressive, but he had Louisville instead of Wichita State. But overall, that's my only upset is the Creighton one. Yours is the USC one. So there we go for that. But I think this is a lot of good matchups in this top left region.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so moving on here to top right, the South region. And here we got Baylor as the 1 seed and Ohio State as the 2 seed, and a lot of good matchups here. And Oliver, which matchup stands out to you?
Hey man, I really like this 12-5 matchup, like you mentioned, the Villanova Winthrop matchup. Villanova, has not been impressive at all down the stretch. They've been losing a lot of games recently. They're just very cold. And Winthrop, look, as you can see from the record, 23-1. They're a very good team for where they play, and so it's an upset. And I actually have Winthrop going very far, very far. You'll see at the end when we show our brackets, a little sneak peek there. But yeah, this is one of my upsets here, which is probably not very common among people who fill out brackets as a whole. But I think Casey, you can probably agree with me on this one.
Yeah, I actually love that as well. I love this Winthrop team to beat Villanova. I mean, this Villanova team is not very good right now. They lost to Georgetown in the quarterfinals of the Big East, and they lost to Providence before that. So this Villanova team is not very good. And they lost to Butler also. And they lost their starting point guard, Connor Gillespie. So yeah, I love that upset too, as we talked about. And another matchup that I really like is this Texas Tech versus Utah State matchup. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Utah State is a very good team. They were a bubble team coming into this tournament, but they squeaked in. They were just 2 seed in the Mountain West. They lost in the championship, made it pretty far. Lost to San Diego State. I like them beating Texas Tech, who has struggled recently, just because Texas Tech is a defensive team, and when their shots are not falling, they barely score. And Utah State has some guys that have snipers and they can strike it in. So I like that. Colgate Arkansas is a good matchup, but I do like Arkansas winning it. but that's going to be a very high scoring game. If you're a gambler, take the over on that because Colgate has a great offense.
Yeah, I'm gonna touch back on that Utah State Texas Tech matchup. I also have Utah State winning. You mentioned how they lost to San Diego State in the championship, but they beat San Diego State twice prior to that game, so they're obviously a proven team. And also, I just seen how Texas Tech has struggled against good teams. They're 3-8 versus top 25 teams. They've lost to Baylor twice, lost to Houston, lost to Kansas twice, lost to Texas, lost to West Virginia twice. I mean, the list goes on. Oklahoma State twice. They've lost to a lot of good teams, so I'm not sure how that's going to carry them into March Madness. But yeah, so I agree with Utah State winning that one.
Yep, and we talked about the flying toothpaste of Colgate. That's a good game there. And Oliver, who do you like in the 8-9 matchup? I personally like North Carolina. How about you?
I also like North Carolina here. We both talked about how we're not very high on Wisconsin as a team. Wisconsin, 17-12, 10-10 in conference. So yeah, I think honestly this might be a pretty decisive win by UNC.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of the 8-9 matchups I don't have. Usually, I feel like I tend to go with the nines, but I think a lot of this year I have a lot
I
of eight.
agree. I think I'm split, maybe even 3-1-8 with the
Uh,
eight. I
yeah,
think I am 3-1-8 actually, but we'll get to that. But and
I'm
lastly,
I'm
before we
four
move
oh
on,
eight or something.
yeah, and lastly before we move on, do you got Florida or Virginia Tech?
I have Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech, yeah, I have Florida there. Virginia Tech, they struggled a little bit with COVID, but I think that'll be a great game right there.
Yeah, I mean they're 4-0 versus top 25 teams. That's what kind of made that decision for me.
Yeah. And we're not picking Oral Roberts, but I mean, if you're going to go for a 15-2, I think they're the best 15 seed here, representing from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And don't count out the North Texas Mean Green. We'll see. All right, so let's move on.
Never. All right, we're moving on to the bottom right, the Midwest region. So yeah, we got a lot of, as per usual, a lot of good matchups here. So what matchup stands out for you here?
Right away, I mean, I love the Tennessee Oregon State matchup.
Yeah.
A little orange on orange. Oregon State, they did the impossible. They made it all the way to the Pac-12 championship and won it. They were a team that had no chance of making it to the NCAA tournament unless they won, which is awesome. I mean, they were the 5 seed, but really the 6 because Arizona had to withdraw from the tournament because recruiting violations when they paid DeAndre Ayton and 100K a couple years ago to come to Arizona. So now they're paying for that. But Oregon State, they won it all. And I think they're going to make this another 12-5 upset. But I have 3 of the 12s winning. But I think Oregon State's going to beat Tennessee. And partly I cannot wait if this happens to see Oklahoma State versus Oregon State, the 2 OSUs, the 2 orange schools.
I'd
That'd
love
be
to
a
say,
very funny matchup. And then, yeah, who do you like in the Oregon State tournament?
yeah, so I have the matchup that stands out for me is probably the Rutgers Clemson. I have Rutgers winning this. Clemson's definitely one of the better defensive teams in the country. They proved that, only letting up 62 points per game. But Rutgers they beat Illinois early in the season, so they proved they can beat the best of the best. So I think this is a pretty safe upset to pick here for you guys. So yeah, I got Rutgers, the 10 seed, beating Clemson, the 7 seed. But yeah, that could definitely swing both ways as well.
No, I agree with you on that. I mean, this Clemson team started out the season hot. I believe they were like 12-1 at one point. They even beat Alabama, who's a 2 seed, but they've really kind of fell back down to earth. I mean 16-7, still a very good record. And Rutgers is a completely the same. They also started off hot. And they've also fell down, but I also like the Rutgers Scarlet Knights here. I think they're better coached. And then the game of the tournament, some people are saying very 50-50 right now. Loyola Chicago versus the newly ACC champions, Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, I've been preaching for loyal Chicago, the whole all these episodes prior, so I gotta stay loyal and pick Loyola. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
Cameron Crutwig down in the middle is going to be an amazing matchup against the bigs of Georgia Tech, and Jose Alvarado of Georgia Tech has been amazing recently. But I mean, I was loving Loyola Chicago going into this tournament, but they were kind of robbed. This Georgia Tech team should not be a 9 seed. They just won the ACC. Why are they a 9 seed? It makes no sense to me. 8 losses only. I mean, it seems ridiculous that a Clemson that has only one less loss that did not win the ACC, unlike Georgia Tech, is a 7 and Georgia Tech's a 9. It makes no sense. And I feel bad for Loyola Chicago because I hate picking against them. I actually had them making a run, but I got to go with Georgia Tech just because they're so hot right now.
Yeah, and also it's even they're playing a good Georgia Tech team, and even if they win that, they have to play Illinois, assuming the impossible happens again. But yeah, so they would have to play Illinois in the round of 32, which is obviously gonna be tough. So even if Loyola Chicago gets out of the first round, I don't see them making it past the second. So unfortunate for Loyola Chicago, but you never know. They did it in years before as 11 seed, so as an 8 seed, it doesn't seem too impossible.
Yeah, and also Oklahoma State was robbed kind of as well, as I had them go into the Elite Eight at least, and having to go against Illinois in the Sweet 16 is going to be tough because I personally think Illinois is the second best team all around coming into this tournament. They're red hot right now. And who do you like in our last game before we move on here? All the other ones are pretty obvious, but who do you like in San Diego State, Syracuse?
I have San Diego State. Um, yeah, I mean San Diego State obviously 23-4 record, very good team. They've
Last year, yeah.
they lost to BYU, which is a bit concerning, but um, yeah, I think they're still a very good team. They would have been a 1 seed if the tournament happened last year. So yeah, and Syracuse, they're always going to be well coached,
Yeah,
but
they're a bubble team. They got in
yeah,
last.
I just not I'm never really confident in Syracuse, so I went with San Diego
Yeah.
State here.
Syracuse is very hit or miss. I mean, some years the Orange can lose first round, and then other years they seem to be like 11 seeds in the Final Four. So it's
Yeah,
very hit or miss. I'm super torn, but I picked the Aztecs here just because I think they're more experienced and they are a better team overall. But yes, Syracuse is very well coached under Boheim and his son this year, Buddy
Buddy
Boheim, had
Bohan.
36 points recently. They almost beat Virginia. I am glad they made the tournament though because I think they did deserve.
Yeah, so looking forward to see what unravels in the Midwest.
Yeah, this is a great region here. And moving on to the last region, the East region, and Michigan here is the 1 seed, and a lot of good matchups here. And what exactly sticks out to you, Oliver?
Um, I would probably say this Georgetown Colorado matchup. Another 5-12, I know, but the
The 12
5-12
5 are great here. I mean,
five
there's
twelves
amazing
this
12
year,
5.
yeah, they're really good matchups, honestly. And I picked Georgetown in the upset just because of how hot they are. I mean, they just won the Big East, entering the tournament with a losing record, and they came out and made March Madness. And as good as this Colorado team has proved to be at points, I still have Georgetown riding that hot wave and winning this.
Yeah, I mean, this Colorado team is pretty hot right now. They did lose to Oregon State, but they were coming on pretty well. But Georgetown's the hottest team right now in college basketball. I mean, they had a losing record and they just ran the ACC tournament. I mean, sorry, Big East tournament, played it perfectly. But I still sticking with the Buffaloes, partly because I have 3 12-5 upsets, and I just feel like four is impossible. But
Yeah,
I mean, that for me is an amazing matchup, and I cannot wait to watch that. And
that's
then
an
another one that sticks out to me is BYU versus the winner of Michigan State and UCLA. For me, what I'm saying to all you viewers, and I think you guys should do this too, is pick BYU if UCLA beats Michigan State. But if Michigan State can beat UCLA, pick the Spartans. I mean, Michigan State is a team in March that you don't want to mess with. The months go April, it goes January, February, Izzo, April, and May. I mean, Tom Izzo, one of the greatest coaches of all time, he will find a way to beat by BYU. And I mean, Texas could even have a run for their money.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had BYU going to Sweet 16, making a little run, but yeah, if you
Yeah.
never can count out Michigan State in March Madness unless they're going against Middle Tennessee. But for the most part, Michigan State's great in March, led by Tom Izzo. So yeah, I can definitely see Michigan State coming up with that upset. But if UCLA wins, I probably don't see it.
Who do you like in the 8-9?
In this 8-9, I also had LSU, so that was my fourth 8 winning. Um, I mean LSU. They lost to Alabama 3 times, but they beat Tennessee. They beat Arkansas twice. So
They're very close today too.
yeah, pretty hit or miss team. I think they match up with Saint Bonaventure pretty well. It's gonna be a good game, but I actually have LSU. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, at first I was leaning towards St. Bonnie, but I mean, today LSU played Alabama with their hearts today. I mean, they were so close against Alabama, who's an amazing team. So yeah, I definitely have LSU as well. And I mean, they could maybe give Michigan a run for their money. We will see. But
Perhaps.
oh, and lastly, UConn, Maryland. Who do you got quick in that game?
I got Maryland.
Yeah, I also got the Terrapins there. Although UConn can be good in March, I got the Terrapins.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm just not good against good teams. Yeah.
So there you go. That's our 68 team field. And now we're going to move on to our full brackets, Oliver and I, and we're going to give you a little summary of who we have winning it all and who we have making to the final four.
Yeah, let's do it. So my four Final Four teams are the Gonzaga Bulldogs, Arkansas Razorbacks, Michigan Wolverines, and West Virginia Mountaineers. So yeah, so I will show you how they got there according to my bracket. Yeah, here is my perfect bracket. It's got to be perfect. I mean, come on now. So yeah, let's just Gonzaga winning Oklahoma, and then Casey had this upset, but I stuck with Creighton. Yeah, no upsets here except for this Wichita State Drake USC, like I mentioned.
Who do you like Wichita State or Drake there if you had to choose one to beat
I like
USC?
Drake. I think Drake's gonna win that. I like Drake. Honestly, if Wichita State wins, I'll probably switch it to USC.
Yeah.
And which I mean, it's unfortunate because I don't like having no upsets, but
Yeah.
I don't think Oklahoma's any match for Gonzaga. I still have moving on. I have Creighton beating Virginia, Kansas winning, Iowa winning, and then Gonzaga Creighton. I think that's another pretty easy matchup for Gonzaga, kind of breezing through it for them right now. And then Iowa beating Kansas. I really like this Iowa team. This is a really interesting matchup for me. This Iowa Gonzaga.
Yeah. Great matchup.
I think it could honestly go both ways. I'm gonna edge towards Gonzaga right now, but I think if Iowa wins this, like if it happens, I'm not guaranteeing it happens, but if it happens, it'd be interesting. Okay, now moving on to the South. Baylor I have going all the way here to the Sweet 16. Um, North Carolina, like I mentioned, Winthrop beating Villanova, like I mentioned, and also I'm upsetting Purdue. So I have Winthrop making a little Cinderella run, but Baylor being the end of that.
Right.
Utah State upset, like I mentioned, Arkansas, Virginia Tech, Ohio State. So a lot of upsets in this portion. Then Arkansas, Ohio State, Winthrop moving on, and then Baylor and Ohio State meeting in the Elite Eight,
And
and then
that game will be awesome.
and
Can't
then
wait
yeah,
for
this would be
that.
fire matchup, and then have Arkansas winning that. So let's move down to the East. Michigan breezing through as the one seed. LSU, that Georgetown upset. Florida State, BYU. But as Casey said, if MSU wins this game, I might switch, which would
Yeah.
be and then I'd probably switch to Texas after that.
Yeah. That's what I have.
And then Maryland, Alabama. So then I got Michigan, Florida State, BYU, and Alabama. And then BYU upsetting Alabama. And then Michigan beating Florida State. So then we got Michigan, BYU, Elite Eight. Yeah, so that's that for the East. Then the Midwest is I'll just kind of go through this quickly. So I have Cade Cunningham kind of carrying Oklahoma State through, and then losing to Illinois, and then West Virginia kind of
Wow.
breezing this
Got
part.
a Big 12 Elite Eight there.
Yeah, I really like this right here. Honestly, I think the Oklahoma State can go really far. And then I have West Virginia. So then my final four, like I mentioned, are Gonzaga, Michigan, Arkansas, and West Virginia. I have Arkansas and Michigan winning, and then Michigan ultimately winning the whole tournament. So yeah, that is my tournament. Um, for right now, I might tinker some things later, but that's as it stands right now.
All right. So now my final four. I got the Zags out of the top left, Arkansas, just like Oliver had,
Mhm.
Texas out of the bottom left, and then the Illinois Fighting Illini coming in strong out of the bottom right. So let's get into it and see how all these teams got there. So here we go. As I said, I got the Zags out of the West, but I will explain how they got there. So I got OU over Missouri, and then my big upset, Santa Barbara, UCSB beating Creighton, the Creighton Eagles, I believe. Maybe wrong there, but I've got them beating Creighton. I explained why earlier.
I
Don't
think
need
the
to
Blue
go.
Jays, but yeah.
Yeah, Blue Jays, yes. Don't need to go into detail again, but yeah, got Creighton losing, and no other upsets. Um, but in the second round here, I got the USC Trojans beating Kansas. I mean, Kansas may not even make it to the tournament, so that had a little bit to do with it. They could have a replacement team, like the replacement teams earlier, like Louisville, Colorado State, St. Louis, and Ole Miss, I believe. But Kansas is a little COVID depleted right now, and I like Evan Mobley and the Trojans to beat Kansas. and UCSB over Virginia, continuing their hot run. They kind of remind me of this Oregon team from last year, surprising team like UC Irvine from the Big West also last year, and I
Yeah.
got them going to the Sweet 16. But their magical run has to come to an end, sadly, against the Zags. And same goes for the Trojans. And I got Iowa and Gonzaga facing each other just like they did in November. And I think the score will be around the same. It was 99-88 Gonzaga. And I think Gonzaga will do it again. And in the top right here, which is considered the South, I got the Baylor Bears going pretty far, and Winthrop upsetting Villanova just like Oliver did, in Utah State over Texas Tech, just like Oliver did. And in the second round, sadly, I got all these teams that get their upsets losing, and I have a pretty chalk 1, 2, 3, 4 Kolovaska style Sweet 16. But I got Arkansas beating Ohio State and Baylor beating Purdue. So it's a 1-3 matchup in the Elite Eight. And I got the Arkansas Razorbacks winning it under their coach, Eric Musselman, great coach from Nevada, and Connor Vanover, the center for them. So yeah, Arkansas and Gonzaga right now, just like Oliver did actually. But this is where we differ. Got the Wolverines also winning. LSU winning. I got Colorado beating Georgetown, and I got Michigan State. Assuming they win, UCLA wins, we'll have BYU there. But I got Texas going pretty far and winning it all over there in Maryland here. So I got Texas, Bama, and Colorado, Michigan, which would be a great matchup in the Sweet 16. Got the Wolverines winning that, and the Longhorns beating Alabama, which is a little bit of a football matchup. But I mean, it was slide for basketball. It is weird seeing Alabama being good at basketball. I mean, they should not.
It's strange.
Yeah, there shouldn't be a football school and basketball school. It seems unfair, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I got Texas being a little bit of a sleeper team and 3 seed making it to the Final Four. And lastly, from the Midwest, I got the Fighting Illini making it. And the way they got there is just beating Georgia Tech, Oklahoma State, which is a shame because I wanted them going far, as I said. And I had Houston making it pretty far. This was a tough game for me right here, as you see on my screen, my clicker. San Diego State, West Virginia was really tough to predict, but I had Bob Huggins' squad edging it out and them beating Houston and making it to the Elite Eight. But the Fighting Illini under Kofi Kufo making it and playing Arkansas in the Final Four. So there we have it. Gonzaga, Texas, Arkansas, and Illinois, as I said earlier. And I got the Zags beating Texas, 3 seed sadly losing. And this is a very accurate Final Four, 2 3 seeds, 2 1 seeds. We've seen this pretty recently, actually. And I got the Zags versus the Fighting Illini. And I got the Fighting Illini sadly beating Gonzaga and ending their undefeated season. I mean, uh, I really like this Gonzaga team, but I mean, we've seen them lose so many times that it's just hard for me to pick them. But I will be rooting for Gonzaga if they make it this far. But this Fighting Illini team is just so deep. I mean, their best player just got injured, and they were still deep without him. We saw them what they did in the Big Ten tournament, beating Ohio State today. I think they're the best team in the country right now, and they're going to win the national championship. But anything can happen, and that's why we love March Madness.
Yeah, we shall see. Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode, the March Madness special. We had a lot of fun making this one, as we enjoy March Madness a lot, us too. So yeah, we just want to give a quick shout out to Drew Brees. I
Yeah.
mean, amazing career, Hall of Fame career. He retired today. So yeah, what do you have to say about that, Casey?
Drew Brees, shout out to him. Great career, as you said there. I think it's the right thing to do. It's kind of being pushed out by the Saints,
Yeah.
and he'll end on a good note rather than going back when people don't really want him there. And I think it's a great move for him and his family. And just a note on the March Madness episode, we have a group on ESPN Tournament Challenge called CO Sports Duck. So right now, just go type it in. We'll put the link in our bio to join the ESPN group. But CO Sports Duck. Follow our Instagram, gives updates on that every day. And the winner, whoever wins the bracket challenge, it'll probably be me or Oliver, but we'll say whoever wins between the non-hosts of it gets to come on our show and talk about March Madness and gets to talk about sports with us. So lucky you to whoever wins, and that will be a fun challenge for all of you guys.
Yeah, I'll put the links in description and as well as the timestamps, because I know I've gotten a lot of feedback about how you guys enjoy the timestamps, so you can skip to portions. Not gonna be many here because we only talked about one thing. But yeah, pretty long outro here. But thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. See you.